Off the cuff, I would say yes, we have. I think we are not thinking about future generations. I think we are not thinking about life and our world on a sustainable basis, given how we are treating our natural resources, our climate, how we are producing the younger and the next generation, and also the value system that we are imbibing and leaving with future generations. I think on all of these fronts we are probably being deficient and selfish as a current generation.
I don't think there is any sort of clash of generations as such, simply because there is a lot that the older generation has done for the younger generation, just in terms of globally, just in terms of the education that the sort of education infrastructure that they've created, the sort of opportunities that the youth now have, which perhaps they did not 40 years ago, 50 years ago. In the process, obviously, there are things that haven't worked out well. There are the ups and the downs, but I don't personally think that there is any sort of clash of generations. It is up to the newer generation to take the flag forward and to build on the things that the older generation has the base that the older generation has created for us. So good over the last few years.
I think there certainly is a clash of generations at the moment. I think that it is quite idealistic, over-idealistic, to suppose that the younger generation will simply recognize a debt of gratitude that they owe to the older generation and be happy to sacrifice considerable quality of life in order to pay for a lot of their parents and grandparents to have a long retirement in good health. However, I also think that the reverse is true, that the elderly need to understand that it's important to give their children and grandchildren the opportunity to make the most of their economic welfare. And therefore, I would say that the only thing that we must try to do to resolve this problem is to advance technology in such a way that everyone will benefit and the clash of generations will be dissipated. I believe that the most promising technology in that regard, of course, is technology that stops the elderly from needing to be looked after by the young. In other words, that maintains their health and their mental and physical function so well that they can continue to look after themselves and indeed to contribute wealth to society.
I believe that the changes in society are continuous, and you cannot really separate generations. There is a permanent change in the society, and of course the job of the older generation, older people, is always to create opportunity for the younger ones to find themselves and to create a world for themselves which they like. And I think that it's most important to provide the opportunities in education, the opportunities of cultural exchange of ideas. And I believe that at that time the world is going to the good direction, because there are more and more cultural exchanges, both personally and via the new communication forms. So I certainly believe that we have to provide education as a main opportunity for developing of the new generation.
Change is not continuous, it's accelerating. And the most powerful force that will work on the lives of young people today is the rate of change, which will be far faster than the rate of change that my generation experienced. And if we can bequeath anything to the next generation and the next generations, it will be an increasing skill at handling change.
Speaking of change, one of the things that we should think of is not only to pursue technological advancement, but to really stop and focus about the quality of education we are receiving. Think of business schools. Think about mismatch of skills and the labor supply. Does it make sense to create unemployed graduates? Change that.
So the idea of change is interesting. Yesterday, during one of the work group sessions, I attended a talk by a Japanese Olympic gold medal winner, and he was telling us about a Japanese haiku poem that basically means, it's in Japanese, something like Fueki Ryoko, which means change but no change. In other words, there are things, change is a continuous process, it's fluid, but at the same time there are certain things which should be maintained. And so I think in the process of change, we should also be conscious about what should be changed and what should not be changed. And that is, I suppose, the best kind of change that we want to achieve. Something that preserves the good from the old, but also brings the innovation from the new. Thank you.